Hello Troglodyte Tribe and welcome back. This week we're going to be looking at 6 different ways to play a major chord. So we're going to be looking at 6 different ways that I like to approach a major chord. Now I'm going to ignore the open positions. So I'm going to move straight in to the sort of barred positions, and so it's going to be further up and down the neck. All of these examples are going to be in a root position, which means that if it's an A chord, the lowest note will be A. So the root note is the lowest note all the way throughout. There'll be 2 chord shapes with the root note on the low E string. There'll be 2 chord shapes for the root note being on the A string, and 2 chord shapes for the root note being on the D string. So in this example, I'm going to be using the A major chord, but all this is completely transferable up and down the neck. You just got to find the right root note. So, with the example A major, I'm going to find the A note on the low E string, which is on the 5th fret. Now I'm going to build the chord going down the neck and across the strings. So it's going to sound like this. The next chord shape I do will go from that root note up the neck, so it'll sound like this. So I'm getting closer towards me. You'll see the example there. It's going down. And that's going up. Both of those examples, I'm using the low A on the E string as the root. All of these chord shapes that I'm about to go through are available as a free download off my website. There is a link in the description. So let's have a quick look at what one of these images of the chord chart. You'll see that there are 3 different colours. We've got red, blue and green. And within those colours, you'll see that there's a number. So the number I'm using as what finger? So it's finger 1, 2, 3 and 4. I've done a little diagram on the top of the downloadable PDF. The colours stand for what note they are within the chord. So an A major chord has a 1, a 3 and a 5. And that's your first part of a major scale. Note 1, 3, 5. Red is root. The blue is the 3rd, and the green is the 5th. This is really useful to know where the 1st, the 3rd and the 5th are in that particular chord shape you're doing. It allows you to bring in different voicings. It'll be really useful later on when you do arpeggiating and doing some soloing, but it really gets you to understand why that chord sounds the way it does. So let's look at example 1. So this is position 1. Major chord. We're going with A major for the example. So the root note is going to be the A note, which is 5th fret, low E string, and I'm going to use finger 4, little finger. Then I'm going to be doing the blue note, which is its 3rd. So that's going to be my 3rd finger on the 4th fret on the A string. And then with my 1st finger, I'm going across and playing the 2nd fret on the D string, and that's my 5th, so it sounds like this. And if I can, I'm reaching over and barring with my 1st finger to that 2nd fret on the G string, and that gives me another red note, which is another A, so that's another root note, but just the octave higher. Now, why it's interesting to know where the 1st, 3rd and 5th are within the shape, it actually makes a big difference to the sound. This is what I'd call sort of a closed chord. All 3 notes are in the same octave, and it's kind of very much how a piano player would do it. Other examples, you might not get to the 3rd until it's an octave higher, and that just sounds very, very different. So this closed version sounds really kind of condensed and a little bit muddy, and I really like that sometimes. In the right place, it can really be effective. So let's look at example 2. So in example 2, we're still on the root note is going to be on the low E string, and I'm still using an example for the A major. So 1st finger this time on the red note, which is the root, 5th fret on the low E, and now I'm going straight to the 5th, which is why it's in green. So I'm going to use my 3rd finger on the 7th fret on the A string, and that just sounds naturally much sweeter than. It just sounds much more open. Now I'm going to jump to an octave of that root note, so that's why it's in red again. So I'm using my little finger on the 7th fret on the D string. And you'll notice we haven't actually done a third yet, so we don't know if this is major or minor or anything. So now we're going to get to that blue note. So I'm using my second finger on the 6th fret on the G string. There it is, and there's your third. That outlines whether it's major or minor now. But you can see that that is much higher than when I did it down there. It falls outside the octave, and it just sounds much more open. Now, if I can carry on and I can bar the rest of this 5th fret with my first finger, I get another green, which is another 5th, and another octave of the root note. So there we have it. So position 1, position 2. If you find this useful, if you can give it a thumbs up, it helps other people like you find this video. So this is position number 3. So now we've moved across a string. The root note is going to be on the A string. We don't want to use the open A because, like I said, we're not focusing on open regular chords, we're focusing up and down the neck. So we're going to jump to the A on the octave, which is the 12th fret. We're going to work down the neck with this chord shape, so we're going to go with the little finger on the A, on the A string, so that's 12th fret, little finger, A string. Then we're going to go to its third, so that's going to be our third finger on the 11th fret on the D string. Now we're going to go to its 5th, which is an E note. So we're going to use our first finger here on the G string on the 9th fret. And you can hear, again, all 3 notes from the chord are within the same octave, so it's kind of a closed chord again. It's very similar to that, but just an octave higher. Now we can carry this chord forward and keep going, and if you use your second finger on the 10th fret on the B string, that gives us the A again, that gives us the octave. And we can keep going and we can bring in another third. So when I'm using my first finger, I'm actually going to bar those strings down there so I can pull out that third. So that's position number 3. So position number 4, we're going to go with the root on the A string again, but this time we're going to start there and move up the neck. First finger on the 12th fret on the A string. Then I want to go with this third finger. I'm going to bar the next 3 strings. So I'm going to go on the 14th fret with my third finger across all 3 strings. And you'll see that that is the root, the 5th, the octave, and there's the third. Again, it's much more open sounding. And if you can, keep barring all the 12th fret with your first finger and try and sort of arch the third finger so you can bring out that top note as well on the E string. So that's another 5th. So with both of those examples, the chord shape 3 and 4, you'll notice that I'm not playing the low E string at all. I'm just focusing from the root note of the strings. Okay, let's move on to position number 5. This time I'm moving the root note onto the D string. Now, because I'm using an example of an A chord, that is actually on the 7th fret on the D string. And again, I'm going to be working down the neck for the first example. This time I'm starting with my third finger on the root note, which is the 7th fret of the D string. I'm then using my second finger on the 6th fret on the G string. And then I'm using my first finger to bar strings B and E. And that again is going with the root, 3rd, 5th, root. So example number 6, we're going again with the root note on the D string, but this time moving up the fretboard. So I'm going to use my first finger on the A note, on the 7th fret on the D string. Now this one's a bit of a stretch, so I'm going to go with my 2nd finger onto the 9th fret on the G string. Then I'm going to put my little finger on the 10th fret on the B string. And now for my 3rd finger, I'm going to put on the 9th fret on the top E. And that's our 3rd there. So, example 5, root going down. Example 6, root going up. If you really want to get into chords, there are thousands and thousands, sort of countless number of chords. I can recommend a book. That there are loads of different chord books out there, but there is one which for me is a complete standout. It is Ted Green's Chord Chemistry. It's just a phenomenal book. It gives you just thousands of examples, but also it goes through how chords are constructed and why they're constructed in that way, and then sort of you can start to build up different chord shapes for yourself. That's if you don't find one in here. There are so many examples. It's brilliant. I have put a link to this book in the description in case you're interested. So let's just have a quick recap of those chord shapes. Chord shape 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So why is this useful? Well, apart from really getting to grips with the fretboard, which is incredibly useful, it's also very good if you're playing the same chord for a little while within a track and you want to sort of give it some movement but without veering away from the notes within the chord. So I'll just sort of mess around now, all with just the same 3 notes from the A major. So that's just me moving between different shapes of the chord, and just suddenly feels like a piece or a bit of a movement, and it stops you just sort of sitting there on the one shape, which is fine. But again, sometimes you just want to mess about a bit more. I'm going to be doing other videos like this where I focus on the minors, the minor 7s, the dominants, the major 7s, etc. So if you're interested, just keep jumping back and see as they come out. Thank you very much.